What if I told you that the cure for your bloating, your cramping, your reflux, and your broken digestion is not sitting in a pharmacy? It is growing in gardens, forests, and kitchens all over the world. Not prescription medications with a side effect list longer than the problem they are solving. Not expensive probiotic supplements that die before they reach your colon. I am talking about plants that have been rebuilding the human gut for thousands of years. Plants that science is now proving can physically coat, repair, and restore your intestinal lining at the cellular level. Most people do not know this, but there are plants that literally rebuild the gut wall. Plants that feed the bacteria your body depends on. Plants that calm the inflammation, stop the spasms, and seal the damage that modern food has done to your insides. And today I am going to show you 20 of them. Stick around because number 7 on this list has been used after meals in traditional cultures for thousands of years. And the mechanism behind why it works is something most gastroenterologists have never explained to their patients. And number 12 contains a gut-rebuilding compound at concentrations higher than almost any other food on Earth. And almost nobody is eating it. Let's get into it. Number 1. Aloe vera, the desert plant that heals from the inside out. You know aloe vera as the sunburn remedy, the plant on your windowsill, the green gel you reach for after too much sun. But here is what almost nobody tells you. The same soothing intelligence that cools a burn on the outside is doing something extraordinary when it reaches your gut. Aloe barbadensis contains a thick, clear mucilage, a gel-like compound that coats the entire digestive tract the way a bandage coats a wound. If you have an inflamed esophagus, an irritated stomach lining, or a raw intestinal wall, aloe vera physically drapes itself over that tissue and creates a protective barrier between the damaged surface and everything passing through. Here's the mechanism that makes this remarkable. Aloe contains polysaccharides, long-chain sugars that activate fibroblasts, the cells responsible for tissue repair, the same cells that patch up skin after a cut. Aloe tells your intestinal lining to start healing itself. Studies have shown aloe vera gel reduces inflammation markers in patients with inflammatory bowel conditions, supports healthy bowel motility, and regulates pH in the digestive tract. This is not symptom masking. This is active gut repair from a plant that has been used internally in traditional medicine for millennia. Ancient Egyptians called aloe the plant of immortality. They were not just talking about the skin, they were drinking it. Number 2 is one of the most important medicinal trees in North American indigenous healing. And once you understand why it works, you will understand why no pharmaceutical can replicate it. Number 2. Slippery elm, the indigenous gut healer that the FDA has officially recognized as a safe and effective oral demulcent. Ulmus rubra, the inner bark of the slippery elm tree, contains one of the most extraordinary mucilage compounds in the plant kingdom. When you mix slippery elm powder with water, it transforms into a thick, slippery gel. It becomes literally a coating agent for your entire digestive tract. Here is what makes slippery elm different from any pharmaceutical treatment for gut inflammation. It does not suppress, it does not block, it coats. It creates a physical protective layer over irritated tissue in the esophagus, stomach, and intestines, reducing friction, calming inflammation, and giving damaged tissue the time and protection it needs to repair itself. Traditional healers use slippery elm for gastritis, ulcers, reflux, and diarrhea. Modern research has confirmed every one of those applications. The FDA has recognized slippery elm bark as a safe and effective oral demulcent, a soothing coating agent for mucous membranes. For people with IBS, Crohn's, or chronic reflux, slippery elm provides something no acid blocker can: physical protection at the mucosal level. This is a tree that has been quietly healing human digestive systems for thousands of years, and it deserves to be in every kitchen. Number 3 is 4,000 years old, and its primary mechanism is one that modern medicine spends billions trying to replicate with pharmaceutical compounds. Number 3. Marshmallow root, the soothing polysaccharide powerhouse that literally helps seal a leaky gut. The real marshmallow, Althea officinalis, is a medicinal herb with a 4,000-year history of healing inflamed tissue. Marshmallow root is packed with mucilaginous polysaccharides that form a thick protective gel when they contact water and when they contact the lining of your digestive tract. If you have a leaky gut, a condition where the intestinal lining becomes permeable and allows undigested particles to cross into the bloodstream, Marshmallow root literally helps seal that barrier. The polysaccharides coat the inflamed, damaged tissue and create an environment where the gut can begin to regenerate. Studies on marshmallow root have demonstrated anti-inflammatory activity, reduced irritation in gastric tissue, and measurable improvements in gut lining integrity. The root also supports healthy mucus production, the body's own protective coating system that gets depleted by stress, processed food, and antibiotic use. Traditional herbalists used marshmallow root for the stomach, the throat, the urinary tract, any inflamed mucous membrane in the body. The plant does not discriminate, it soothes. Marshmallow root teaches us that sometimes the most powerful healing is not dramatic. It is gentle, consistent, and structural. Number 4 might be the most universally used digestive plant in human history. There is a reason for that. It works on almost every digestive complaint simultaneously. Number 4, ginger, the complete digestive system reset. Zingiber officinal contains bioactive compounds called gingerols and shogaols that act on the digestive system through multiple mechanisms at once. This is not a one-trick herb. Ginger stimulates saliva production, the first step of digestion. It promotes gastric emptying, the movement of food from the stomach into the small intestine, which is why it is so effective for nausea and the heavy, sluggish feeling after meals. It stimulates bile production, it activates digestive enzymes, and it reduces intestinal inflammation. For nausea, morning sickness, motion sickness, post-surgical nausea, ginger has been tested head-to-head against pharmaceutical antiemetics and frequently performs comparably without the side effects. For bloating and gas, ginger works as a carminative, helping trapped gas move through the digestive system. The anti-inflammatory effects of gingerols target the same pathways as common anti-inflammatory drugs. Research shows ginger reduces inflammatory markers in the gut lining specifically, critical for anyone dealing with chronic digestive inflammation. Traditional medicine from India to China to the Caribbean knew ginger as the universal digestive cure. Modern science is just writing the footnotes. Number 5 has over 15,000 scientific studies behind it, and nowhere does its power show up more directly than in the gut. Number 5. Turmeric, the golden anti-inflammatory that interrupts the root driver of most digestive disease. Curcuma longa contains curcumin, one of the most potent natural anti-inflammatory compounds ever studied. Chronic gut inflammation, whether from IBD, IBS, food sensitivities, or a lifetime of processed food, is the root driver of most digestive disease. Curcumin inhibits NF-κB, one of the primary molecular switches that activates the inflammatory cascade. When gut inflammation turns on, it triggers a cycle that damages the intestinal lining, disrupts the microbiome, increases intestinal permeability, and creates self-reinforcing damage. Curcumin interrupts that cycle at the source. Clinical trials have shown curcumin supplementation reduces relapse rates in ulcerative colitis patients, improves symptom scores in Crohn's disease, and supports healthy intestinal tissue. Curcumin also modulates the gut microbiome, increasing populations of beneficial bacteria and reducing harmful ones. It supports the integrity of tight junction proteins, the molecular locks that keep the gut lining sealed and functional. The challenge with turmeric is absorption. Combine it with black pepper, which contains piperine, and absorption increases by up to 2,000%. Traditional cuisine figured this out long before pharmaceutical scientists did. Number 6 contains compounds that directly relax the smooth muscle lining of your intestines, the same mechanism that pharmaceutical antispasmodic drugs attempt to replicate. Number 6. Peppermint, the intestinal muscle relaxer backed by multiple meta-analyses for IBS. Mentha piperita works on the gut through a mechanism that pharmaceutical antispasmodic drugs attempt to replicate. It calms the involuntary muscle contractions that cause cramping, pain, and the unpredictable bowel behavior of IBS. The active compound menthol interacts with calcium channels in intestinal smooth muscle. When those channels are modulated, the muscles relax. Spasms stop, cramping eases, the bowel stops overreacting. Enteric-coated peppermint oil is one of the most evidence-backed interventions for IBS that exists. Multiple meta-analyses, analyses of multiple clinical trials combined, have confirmed its effectiveness for reducing IBS pain, bloating, and urgency. It outperforms placebo consistently and significantly. Peppermint also has prebiotic and antimicrobial properties that support a healthy gut microbiome. It helps reduce harmful bacterial overgrowth while supporting beneficial populations. The enteric-coated form is important for gut-specific benefits. It allows the peppermint to pass through the stomach without releasing in the esophagus, where it can actually worsen reflux. For IBS and intestinal cramping, peppermint is not a folk remedy. It is one of the most studied and validated plant-based interventions that exists. Number 7. Fennel. The after-meal ritual that traditional cultures across the Mediterranean, the Middle East, and South Asia have practiced for thousands of years. And the mechanism behind why it works is something most gastroenterologists have never explained to their patients. Feniculum vulgare contains volatile oils, primarily inositol, that work as powerful carminatives. They relax the smooth muscle of the intestinal tract, allowing trapped gas to move freely through the system, rather than building up into bloating and pressure. Here is the pattern most people do not recognize. Bloating after meals is not just about gas, it is about sluggish motility, the intestines not moving food along efficiently, combined with fermentation of undigested food by gut bacteria. Fennel addresses both. It stimulates digestive motility, it reduces the fermentation that produces excess gas, and it relaxes the muscles that trap gas in the first place. Studies on fennel have confirmed its antispasmodic and carminative properties. For infants with colic, the most sensitive population, fennel tea has been shown in controlled trials to reduce crying duration and abdominal distension significantly. If it works for a colic-suffering infant, it works. Fennel also supports liver and bile function, improves the breakdown of fatty foods, and contains anti-inflammatory compounds that calm gut lining irritation. Traditional cultures did not have a science lab, but they had thousands of years of observation, and they all arrived at the same conclusion. Number 8. Chamomile. The herb that treats the gut from both directions simultaneously by working on the gut-brain axis. Matricaria chamomilla contains apigenin and other flavonoids that exert direct antispasmodic effects on the smooth muscle of the digestive tract. When your gut goes into spasm from stress, irritants, or inflammatory triggers, chamomile compounds reach that muscle and tell it to relax. But here's what makes chamomile especially valuable for gut healing. The gut-brain axis is real. The enteric nervous system, the network of over 100 million neurons lining your digestive tract, is in constant communication with your brain. Stress tightens the gut. Anxiety triggers IBS flares. Chamomile works on both ends of that connection simultaneously, calming the nervous system and directly relaxing the intestinal muscle. Chamomile also has measurable anti-inflammatory effects on the gut lining. Studies show it reduces mucosal inflammation, accelerates healing of gastric ulcers, and protects against stress-induced gut damage. Traditional medicine across Europe, the Middle East, and North Africa used chamomile for every digestive complaint: colic, gastritis, IBS, cramping, ulcers, and modern research has validated every one of those applications. This is the herb that calms the brain that drives the gut crazy and calms the gut itself at the same time. Number 9. Licorice root. One of the oldest documented medicines on Earth and its most remarkable modern application is rebuilding the protective mucus layer that modern life destroys. Glycyrrhiza glabra contains compounds that directly stimulate the production of mucus in the stomach and intestinal lining. That mucus layer is not incidental. It is the frontline defense of your gut, separating your gut bacteria from your gut wall, protecting the lining from stomach acid, digestive enzymes, and pathogenic bacteria. Modern diets, stress, NSAIDs, and antibiotic courses deplete that mucus layer. When it thins, the gut wall becomes vulnerable. Gastritis develops, ulcers form, permeability increases. DGL licorice, deglycyrrhizated licorice, which has the blood pressure-raising compound removed, has been specifically studied for its ability to restore mucus production and protect the gut lining. Clinical studies have shown DGL licorice comparable to antacids for gastric discomfort without the long-term consequences of acid suppression. Licorice also contains anti-inflammatory compounds that reduce gut lining inflammation and antispasmodic compounds that calm digestive cramping. Traditional medicine did not understand the molecular mechanism, but they knew that licorice root fixed gut problems. They were right. Before we continue, if what we are covering today resonates with you, I want you to know there are 3 complete practical guides covering how to grow, prepare, and use medicinal plants like these at home. From beginner step-by-step instructions to 30 protocols with exact dosage and safety notes, to a complete home apothecary system. Everything is in the first pinned comment below if you want to explore further. Now let's keep going, because the next 11 plants include the ones that surprised me most. Number 10. Dandelion. The weed that feeds your microbiome and catalyzes bile flow simultaneously. Taraxacum officinal works on gut health through multiple pathways. It stimulates bile production in the liver and bile release from the gallbladder, critical for the digestion and absorption of fats and fat-soluble nutrients. Without adequate bile, fat digestion breaks down, leading to bloating, fatty stools, and nutrient deficiencies. The roots and leaves are also rich in inulin and other prebiotic fibers, compounds your digestive enzymes cannot break down, but your beneficial gut bacteria can. Dandelion essentially feeds your microbiome. The research on prebiotics and gut health is among the most significant in modern nutritional science. The composition of your gut microbiome influences your immune system, your mood, your weight, your skin, and your risk of nearly every chronic disease. Dandelion root has demonstrated anti-inflammatory effects on gut tissue and prebiotic compounds that specifically increase populations of lactobacillus and bifidobacterium, the bacteria most consistently associated with digestive health and immune function. The weed in your lawn might be the most valuable plant in your yard. Number 11 does 2 things simultaneously that seem almost contradictory, and the combination makes it one of the most sophisticated gut rebalancing tools in nature. Number 11. Garlic, the prebiotic and pathogen fighter that feeds beneficial bacteria and kills harmful ones at the same time. Allium sativum contains fructooligosaccharides, FOS, that function as potent prebiotic fibers. These compounds pass through the small intestine undigested and reach the colon, where they selectively feed lactobacillus, bifidobacterium, and other beneficial bacterial populations. At the same time, garlic's allicin and other organosulfur compounds have broad-spectrum antimicrobial activity. Studies have shown garlic extracts effective against Helicobacter pylori, the bacterium responsible for most stomach ulcers, against Candida overgrowth, and against a range of pathogenic bacteria that disrupt the gut ecosystem. This dual action, prebiotic support for beneficial bacteria combined with targeted pressure on harmful populations, makes garlic one of the most sophisticated gut rebalancing tools in nature. Modern research on garlic and the microbiome consistently shows increases in microbial diversity, the single best marker of gut health, following regular garlic consumption. Raw garlic delivers the most potent effect. Cooked garlic retains the prebiotic compounds with reduced allicin content. Both have a role in gut healing. Both are accessible, affordable, and available everywhere. Number 12 contains more of the gut rebuilding compound inulin than almost any other food on earth, and almost nobody is eating it. Number 12. Jerusalem artichoke, the inulin powerhouse that physically restructures the microbial ecosystem of your colon. Jerusalem artichoke is a native North American sunflower, Helianthus tuberosus, and it contains more inulin per gram than almost any food on earth. Inulin is the most researched prebiotic compound in existence. It is the preferred food source for bifidobacterium, one of the most beneficial genera of bacteria in the human gut. Here is what the research shows. When people consume inulin-rich foods regularly, bifidobacterium populations increase. As bifidobacterium increases, it produces short-chain fatty acids, butyrate, acetate, propionate, that are the primary energy source for colonocytes, the cells lining your colon. Butyrate specifically has anti-inflammatory effects on the gut lining, reduces intestinal permeability, and is associated with reduced risk of colorectal disease. Eating Jerusalem artichoke feeds bacteria that produce compounds that heal your gut lining. That is a complete plant-powered gut repair cycle. A note of caution: start slowly. The fermentation of high-dose inulin can cause significant gas and bloating as the microbiome adjusts. This is a sign it is working. Your bacteria are active, but the transition needs to be gradual. This is one of the most significant gut healing foods you can grow in a backyard garden, and almost nobody is talking about it. Number 13. is the original source of the commercial inulin supplement sold in health food stores. You can get the same compound from the plant itself, cheaper, whole, and in a form traditional medicine has used for thousands of years. Number 13. Chicory root, up to 48% inulin by dry weight, the original source of most commercial prebiotic supplements, and a digestive bitter that activates bile production before food even reaches your stomach. Cichorium indibus root contains up to 48% inulin by dry weight. The commercial inulin and FOS supplements sold in health food stores are most commonly derived directly from chicory root. You can get the same compound from the plant itself. Studies on chicory-derived inulin show consistent increases in bifidobacterium and lactobacillus, reduced markers of intestinal inflammation, improved bowel regularity, and measurable improvements in gut permeability markers. Chicory root also contains anti-inflammatory sesquiterpene lactones and hepatoprotective compounds that support liver function, the organ most directly linked to bile production. The bitter flavor of chicory root is itself a digestive signal. Bitter compounds stimulate bile production and digestive enzyme secretion before food even reaches the stomach, which is exactly why traditional herbal medicine used bitters before meals. Chicory delivers both the prebiotic inulin and the bitter digestive stimulant in a single plant. Number 14 is the underground gut rebuilder, best known in the West as the inspiration for Velcro. What most people never discovered is what the root does. Number 14. Burdock root, the triple-action gut healer that combines prebiotic fiber, mucilaginous gut coating, and anti-inflammatory polyphenols in one root. Arctium lapa contains inulin and other prebiotic fibers that feed beneficial gut bacteria. It contains mucilaginous compounds that coat and soothe the intestinal lining. And it contains anti-inflammatory polyphenols, chlorogenic acid, quercetin, luteolin, that reduce inflammatory activity throughout the digestive tract. Research on burdock root has demonstrated hepatoprotective effects, protection of liver cells, which directly supports bile production and fat digestion. Studies show anti-inflammatory activity at the gut mucosal level and positive modulation of the gut microbiome. Traditional herbalism used burdock root as a deep cleanser, not in a detox diet marketing sense, but in the specific sense of supporting the liver and the digestive organs in their fundamental work of processing and clearing waste. In Japan, burdock root, called gobo, is a standard culinary ingredient eaten regularly as a vegetable. That consistency of use over generations is exactly the kind of evidence traditional medicine is built on. Burdock proves that some of the most powerful gut-healing plants look like weeds and taste like earth. Number 15 is a humble vegetable sitting in every grocery store that has more clinical evidence for healing stomach ulcers than almost anything a doctor will prescribe. Number 15. Cabbage, the gut ulcer healer with clinical trial evidence from the 1950s that modern medicine quietly confirmed and then quietly forgot. Brassica oleracea contains L-glutamine, the amino acid that is the primary fuel source for enterocytes, the cells lining your small intestine, alongside sulforaphane, a compound with documented antimicrobial activity against Helicobacter pylori, the bacterium responsible for most stomach ulcers. In the 1950s, Stanford researcher Dr. Garnett Cheney published clinical trials showing fresh cabbage juice healed gastric ulcers in an average of 13 days, compared to the standard treatment average of 42 days at the time. The mechanism was the L-glutamine content, which he called vitamin U, though it is not technically a vitamin. The L-glutamine in cabbage directly feeds the cells responsible for maintaining gut barrier integrity. When those cells are underfed, as they commonly are in people with gut permeability issues, the tight junctions between them loosen, permeability increases, and the gut lining becomes vulnerable. Cabbage juice delivers the fuel those cells need to repair and maintain themselves. Modern research has confirmed sulforaphane's activity against H. pylori and L-glutamine's role in gut barrier maintenance. The vegetable sitting in your grocery store has been healing human digestive systems for longer than any pharmaceutical. Most people just never knew what they were eating. Number 16 is the orange flower most people associate with skincare, and almost nobody knows what it does to the intestinal lining. Number 16, calendula, the gut mucosal repair herb used in oncology for radiation-induced intestinal damage, and one of the least known gut healing plants on this entire list. Calendula officinalis contains triterpenoids and flavonoids with documented anti-inflammatory and tissue-regenerating activity that extends beyond the skin applications most people know about. The plant has been studied specifically for gut mucosal repair, the regeneration of the intestinal lining after damage. In oncology settings, calendula preparations are used to manage radiation-induced mucositis because of their documented ability to support mucosal cell regeneration and reduce inflammatory damage to intestinal tissue. The same mechanisms that protect the gut lining from radiation damage address the chronic low-grade inflammatory damage that modern diets, NSAIDs, and stress inflict on the intestinal mucosa continuously. Calendula also has documented antimicrobial activity against H. pylori and Candida species, adding an additional layer of gut microbiome protection alongside its mucosal repair function. Traditional herbalism used calendula internally for gastritis, stomach ulcers, and intestinal inflammation for centuries. Modern research is confirming those applications with mechanisms that go to the cellular level of intestinal repair. This is the gut healing plant that most people in the natural health world have completely overlooked. Number 17 is the spice in every kitchen cabinet, and inside it is a set of bioactive compounds with a specific and measurable effect on the digestive function that most people have never considered. Number 17. Cinnamon, the digestive balancer that breaks the blood sugar to gut inflammation cycle at its source. Cinnamomum verum contains cinnamaldehyde with antimicrobial activity against a range of pathogens that commonly disrupt the gut ecosystem, including H. pylori and Candida species. It creates conditions in the gut that favor beneficial bacteria over harmful ones. But cinnamon's most significant gut connection is through blood sugar regulation. Blood sugar spikes drive gut inflammation. Insulin resistance is associated with altered gut microbiome composition and increased intestinal permeability. Cinnamon's documented ability to blunt blood sugar response after meals creates a metabolic environment where the gut can heal rather than constantly managing inflammatory damage. Studies show cinnamon reduces gut inflammation markers, supports healthy gastric motility, and reduces intestinal cramping. Traditional Chinese, Ayurvedic, and European herbal traditions all use cinnamon for digestive complaints, bloating, diarrhea, gas, nausea, independently arriving at the same conclusion. Ceylon cinnamon, true cinnamon, is the variety with the best safety profile for regular use. The dosage you would use medicinally is only slightly more than what you would use in the kitchen. Number 18 is one of the most widespread medicinal plants on Earth, and every healing tradition on every inhabited continent independently discovered the same thing about it. Number 18, plantain, the ancient gut liner that grows as a weed in every lawn and contains the same wound-healing intelligence that traditional healers on every continent independently recognized. Plantago major is rich in mucilage, the same soothing polysaccharide gel that makes slippery elm and marshmallow roots so effective. When consumed, that mucilage coats the entire digestive tract, protecting irritated tissue, reducing friction, and creating the physical environment needed for healing. Plantain also contains aucubin and other iridoid compounds with specific anti-inflammatory activity. Studies show these compounds reduce inflammatory markers in gut tissue, protect the intestinal mucosa from damage, and support regeneration of the gut lining. The fiber content of plantain seeds, distinct from psyllium but similarly mucilaginous, supports bowel regularity and feeds beneficial gut bacteria. Traditional healing cultures on every inhabited continent independently arrived at plantain as a healer of surfaces, skin, gut, mucous membranes. The internal applications parallel the external ones, with documented consistency across cultures that had no contact with each other. This is the plant growing through your sidewalk cracks that has been quietly offering to fix your gut every time you walked past it. Number 19 is best known as food, a vegetable on an Italian appetizer plate. But inside its leaves is one of the most researched plant compounds for bile flow and IBS that exists. Number 19, artichoke, the bile flow catalyst where one large clinical trial found 96% of IBS patients rating artichoke leaf extract as effective or very effective. Cinera scolamus contains cynarin and silymarin-related compounds in its leaves that directly stimulate bile production in the liver and bile release from the gallbladder. Bile is not optional for gut health. It breaks down dietary fats, carries fat-soluble vitamins for absorption, neutralizes stomach acid as it enters the small intestine, and has antimicrobial effects that regulate bacterial populations of the small intestine. When bile production is sluggish, as it is in many people with digestive problems, fat digestion fails, nutrients go unabsorbed, the small intestine becomes vulnerable to bacterial overgrowth, and the entire digestive cascade falters. Clinical studies on artichoke leaf extract have shown significant improvements in IBS symptoms, bloating, nausea, abdominal pain, and meaningful improvements in bowel function. One large trial showed 96% of IBS patients rating artichoke leaf extract as effective or very effective. Artichoke also contains prebiotic inulin, adding microbiome support on top of its bile-stimulating effects. It is both a digestive catalyst and a microbiome feeder in one plant. The traditional Mediterranean practice of eating artichoke as an appetizer before a rich meal makes perfect pharmacological sense. And now, number 20, the plant that is arguably the most direct, most researched, and most structurally important gut healing tool on this entire list. Number 20, psyllium, the gut microbiome architecture builder that produces butyrate through bacterial fermentation, the primary fuel that heals your colon lining from the inside. Plantago ovata produces seeds covered in husks so rich in soluble fiber that, when mixed with water, they form a thick gel, unlike almost anything else in the plant kingdom. That gel is the mechanism. When psyllium moves through the intestines, it creates bulk and lubrication simultaneously. For constipation, it adds water-binding mass that stimulates peristalsis. For diarrhea, it absorbs excess fluid and regulates bowel consistency. Psyllium is genuinely bidirectional. It normalizes rather than just stimulating or suppressing. But here's what makes psyllium extraordinary beyond its mechanical action. The fermentation of psyllium fiber by gut bacteria produces short-chain fatty acids, particularly butyrate, that are the primary fuel source for colonocytes. Those cells lining your colon need butyrate to stay healthy, maintain tight junctions, and resist the permeability that defines leaky gut. Psyllium feeds the bacteria that produce the compound that heals the colon lining. Clinical research supports psyllium for IBS, cholesterol, blood sugar regulation, bowel regularity, Crohn's disease maintenance, and hemorrhoids. The evidence base is among the strongest of any plant on this list. The fountain of gut health is not exotic or expensive. Sometimes it is a tiny seed with a gel-forming husk that has been rebuilding human intestinal architecture for thousands of years. Before I close, if you made it all the way through this video, you now understand something that most people spend years and thousands of dollars trying to figure out. The solution to your gut health problems is not another elimination diet, another round of antibiotics, or another probiotic supplement that dies in your stomach acid. It is plants. Plants that coat, protect, rebuild, feed, and rebalance the gut the way they have been doing for every human civilization before this one. These 20 plants represent a complete gut healing system. You do not need all 20 at once. You need the ones that match your specific gut problem. And now you have the framework to find them. For anyone who watched all the way to the end, the complete practical guide to using these plants correctly is in the first pinned comment below. Use the code FULLVIDEO at checkout for 20% off. No countdown, no pressure. It is there whenever you are ready. Traditional medicine healers did not have clinical trials, but they had thousands of years of observation, refinement, and direct experience. They arrived at these plants independently across cultures, across continents, across time. When that much accumulated human wisdom points in the same direction, modern science follows. It always does. Tell me in the comments, which of these 20 plants are you starting with? Are you a mucilage person? Aloe, slippery elm, marshmallow root? Or are you going straight to the anti-inflammatory core? Turmeric and ginger every morning? Drop it below. I read every comment. Subscribe and ring the bell. I will see you in the next one.